Alright, even though this is melted like the crud completely, when I turn my ignition switch on, I'm getting continuity up at the amp gauge, which is a good sign. That means there are at least a few wires left intact on this beast. So we may not have to do the entire wiring harness over, but I will have to take off things like this, because obviously that's not good. And where the mice have been chowing on the wires, even though they didn't make it quite through the insulation, I'll still want to take care of that and at the very least tape it up. I couldn't get this connector off. I wanted to pull it off and clean the connections behind it, because you can see everything's melted and warped, because obviously this isn't a burn mark, this is just like mouse pee and everything else. But there's a lot of stuff in here that just looks super sketchy. And whenever you get a bubble up like that, you've had a pretty good meltdown somewhere in the past. I pulled out a ton of wires that are just... got everything out of the engine bay here. The other day we got all the stuff out that was with the plow system. This stuff here is interesting. This is how we found it. I have not done anything to this. So that's got a nice little loop going on there. I assume they were just keeping the field hot when they fired it up somehow. I don't know what this is. So I'm going to have to figure out some of this stuff, because you should have one wire going to it to heat up the field once the ignition's on. But I don't really know what this mess is. It should all tie back into the regulator back here, but the regulator doesn't appear to be connected to anything at all. So there's going to be some work to do for sure. Came over here, traced out some of the wires, and found that some of these are actually good. So I connected those back up. I took our little temporary switch out. So the line coming from the key to the starter is good. The line going to the coil is good. So we had a little bit of smoke coming from here, but that was because the resistor had some oil from the engine on it. So I think that's okay. This interesting little device here, that's a brake lock, which I thought was kind of cool. It explains one of the plates that we found on the dash. It said to hold brake, then flip switch. I was like, okay, what's that all about? So anyways, that's an inline brake switch. So that will be kind of handy, considering as they've removed the emergency brake off from the transfer case on this one. So there's a lot of odd stuff, but we did have it running. Sounded okay. Might end up moving this filter back down to where it belongs. I don't really know. This filter setup is kind of funky, actually. I don't really understand what's going on here and why. But maybe we won't move it down. That could be different, because on the 2F engine, it's in a different spot. You can see they got a fuel pump down there. Obviously, that fuel pump's no good. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe that oil filter's going to stay there. Maybe that's where that belongs on this engine. I don't really know. I don't know enough about the F-head. This is my first time ever actually seeing one of these unmolested and not having been removed from the vehicle. Because generally they put a 2F in here, because this vehicle's lacking in horsepower. But it's only got 65,000 miles on it. So, and it ran good. Had oil pressure. Once we can get the carburetor functioning, we should be okay. I don't think the throttle's still stuck. This is oxidized. We got it to budge a little bit, and we're hoping that we'll be able to get it to budge more. We may end up rebuilding this like to keep the Toyota carburetor if we can. I mean, anytime you can keep some stock stuff on here, that's always a better way to go, because that's how that little